Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take the resources you're curious about, the things you've sent us, and, well, we really dig in to pull out the key insights you need.
And hopefully pretty fast.
Exactly. So today, you've given us a great summary of just listen. Discover the secret to getting through to absolutely anyone. And let's be honest, understanding people, connecting, it's a constant challenge, right?
Wow, definitely. Personal life, work life, everywhere. It can be a real head-scratcher sometimes.
For sure. And you're looking for a solid, deep understanding quickly. So our mission today is pretty clear. Arm you with some real actionable strategies for better communication, for really getting people.
Absolutely. And this book, it gives us a really interesting way to look at the psychology behind how we interact. One of the first big ideas is this thing called the amygdala hijack.
Okay, that's the emotional center in the brain, yeah? So a hijack, what does that actually mean?
Well, basically, a full amygdala hijack is when someone gets hit with such a strong emotion, usually anger, that it just floods the system. It kind of bypasses the thinking part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex.
Ah, okay. So rational thought just goes out the window.
Pretty much. It's like a primal response takes over. Logic, forget about it. And the book stresses how important it is to, spot this when it's happening in someone else.
Yeah, I can picture that. Maybe they get flushed or their breathing changes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or clenched fists, that kind of thing. And, well, maybe recognizing it in ourselves, too, sometimes.
Oof, yeah. We've all been there or seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to talk sense into someone in that state, it's like hitting a brick wall.
Total brick wall. Now, related to this, the book talks about how we form opinions of people really fast. What are the dangers there?
First impressions, right? We do that constantly.
We do. We make these snap judgments based on often very little information, and we tend to stick to them. There's this really powerful story in the summary. Someone at work, everyone thought they were just lazy. But the reality, completely different. This person was actually caring for her grandfather who had Alzheimer's and her grandmother who just had a stroke. Parents had passed away. She was it, the sole caregiver.
Wow. Okay, that just completely reframes things, doesn't it? That label lazy was so far off.
So far off. And it shows how we operate with these assumptions, these filters, as the book calls them. We see things through what we think we already know.
Like confirmation bias, looking for stuff that fits what we already believe.
Exactly that. So the book suggests we should try, really try, to approach people with a, what's the term? Tabula rasa.
A blank slate.
Yeah, a blank slate. Actively try to put aside those mental blocks, those prejudices we all carry.
That sounds good in theory, this blank slate idea. But it's hard, right? Our brains like to categorize things quickly.
Oh, absolutely. It's efficient. Yeah. And that leads into this model by Rick Middleton, the GGNE model.
GGNEE, what does that stand for?
Right. It's gender, generation, like age, nationality, or ethnicity, education level, and E for emotion. These are common ways we sort of put people in mental boxes.
Shortcuts.
Mental shortcuts, yeah. But the problem is we have these hardwired ideas about each box. And those shortcuts, they can lead us way off track. It's that whole intuition versus analysis thing playing out.
So some fits a category and boom, our brain fills in all these assumptions based on the box we put them in.
Precisely. Which is why the really crucial step the book argues is to think about what you're thinking. Step back. Notice your own thought process. Question those automatic assumptions.
Metacognition, being aware of your own thinking. Okay, that makes sense. So we're trying to catch those snap judgments, keep an open mind. Yeah. But what about when someone is just genuinely difficult? The problem person, as the summary calls them.
Yeah, the book tackles that too. And the first move isn't just labeling them difficult. It's trying to understand the why behind it. Is it something new they're dealing with, a long-term thing? Or, okay, maybe sometimes they are just unpleasant.
It could be any of those.
Right. But the advice is, open your mind. Look for those hidden reasons first.
And there was an exercise mentioned about imagining secrets.
Yeah, exactly. Think of someone you find difficult, maybe someone you don't know that well, someone who's always late or snaps easily or is super critical.
Okay, got someone in mind.
First, list the words you usually use to describe them. Then really push yourself. Imagine 5 hidden secrets things they wouldn't just tell anyone that could explain why they act that way. And just notice, does thinking about those possibilities change how you see them, even a little?
That's a great way to practice empathy, looking beyond just the behavior. Now, another really interesting point was about the fear of making mistakes. How big a role does that play?
Apparently a huge role. The book suggests that for a lot of people, maybe even people who seem confident, The fear of messing up can actually be stronger than the desire to succeed.
Really? Stronger than wanting to get it right.
Yeah. Because mistakes often lead to criticism, embarrassment.
Yeah.
It's a hit to their self-worth.
It's like this deep-seated self-protection thing.
Totally. So if someone makes a mistake, gets criticized, they might subconsciously just start avoiding any situation where they could be wrong again.
Which could explain why some people seem so hesitant to make decisions.
Exactly. It might not be indecisiveness at all. It could just be fear of being wrong, especially the book notes, sometimes in older individuals.
That really changes how you might approach leading a team or even just communicating, fostering an environment where it's okay to be wrong sometimes.
Absolutely. Making it about learning, not blaming. Now, on a very practical note, the book lays out this fantastic 6-step process for making someone feel truly heard, truly understood, making them feel felt.
Feel felt. I like
Yeah.
that. This sounds incredibly useful. What are the steps?
Okay, so step 1, mentally try to attach an emotion to what you think they're feeling. Frustration, maybe anxiety, anger, whatever fits.
Okay, identify the feeling.
Step 2, you say it out loud. And this part's key. You ask for confirmation. Something like, I'm trying to get a handle on what you're feeling. It seems like it might be frustration. Is that right? If not, what are you feeling?
And then you just wait.
And then you shut up. Seriously. You wait. Let them answer. That silence gives them space.
Right. That pause can feel awkward, but it's important. Okay, step 3.
Step 3, ask, how frustrated are you? Or whatever the emotion was. Again, patience. Wait for the answer. Be ready. They might really let loose here.
Okay. Let them quantify it.
Then step 4. And the reason you're feeling so frustrated is because let them vent. Explain it all without you jumping in.
Just listen.
Just listen. Step 5. Tell me what needs to happen for that feeling to feel better. Again, wait. Let them propose something.
Shifting towards solutions now.
Exactly. And finally, step 6, the collaborative part. What part can I play in making that happen, and what part can you play?
Ah, I like that. It puts the ball in both courts. It's about moving forward together.
Totally. And there's a great anecdote illustrating this. The author had an appointment. His colleague was obviously miles away, totally distracted.
Instead of plowing ahead.
Right. He just acknowledged it, said something like, you seem really preoccupied. Should we reschedule? And immediately the colleague just opened up his wife was having a biopsy that day.
Wow. Just acknowledging the feeling, unlock everything.
It's the core principle. Focus on their feelings first. Everything else follows. Now, the summary also gets into tactics for specific situations, like the blurter,
Yep.
the person who just talks and talks.
We all know one of those. What's the strategy?
The idea is to politely interrupt after maybe a sentence or two. You say something like, hey, that sounds really important, but I honestly can't give it my full focus right this second.
Okay, acknowledge but deflect.
Then you schedule a specific short time slot later, maybe 5 minutes in an hour or two, and you ask them to come prepared. What's the point? What do they want you to do? Is it feasible? Is it fair? How does it fit our goals?
So you make them structure their thoughts.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, the book says, quite often, they won't even show up for that follow-up meeting.
Interesting. It channels that energy, but also makes them do a bit of work. Okay, what about when you sense someone's really bottled up,
Yeah.
tense, getting them to exhale, as the book puts it?
This one's intense. It involves making direct eye contact and asking something like, how bad does it get in there?
Well, that's direct.
It is. They might try to brush it off. You can follow up with maybe, yeah, you're probably right. Maybe I don't want to know. But look, unless someone else knows what's going on in there, and soon you might just explode.
Maintain eye contact the whole time.
Keep the eye contact. Wait for them to respond. The goal is to get them to lower their guard physically and emotionally.
Okay. And
Then you just let them talk. Uninterrupted, no debating, no arguing. Let it all out. It might feel draining for both of you afterward,
that I can imagine.
but resist the urge to jump in with your own stuff. Just pause and then say, tell me more.
Yeah, showing you really were listening and you want the rest.
Exactly. Creates that safe space. The book even says this works with kids too, asking similar questions about their frustrations, maybe with parents or school.
It's about creating that safety valve.
Yeah.
Okay, what about how we come across addressing misperceptions, this idea of dissonance?
Right. Dissonance happens when there's a mismatch between how we see ourselves and how others see us. It often leads to defensiveness. And the book makes a key point. People often act their worst when they feel powerless.
So someone yelling might actually feel unheard or anxious, not powerful.
Exactly. It's a counterintuitive but crucial reframe. They might feel backed into a corner.
And the book lists common ways this dissonance happens, like how we see ourselves versus how others might see us.
Yeah, it gives 10 common pairs. Like, you think you're being confident, they see arrogance. You think you're funny, they find it inappropriate. You think you're strong, they see rigid, that kind of thing.
Ouch. Okay. And how do you deal with arguments that might stem from this?
The technique suggested is to call a timeout. Acknowledge that, hey, probably both of us feel a bit attacked right now. Let's pause and restart. Maybe try to be less defensive.
De-escalation. Simple, but effective. Now, switching gears a bit, there were some powerful questions mentioned for, like sale or problem solving.
Yeah, one really great one is, what's something that would be impossible to do, but if you could do it, would dramatically increase your success?
Ah, the magic wand question, basically.
Kind of. It gets people thinking beyond the immediate constraints. It helps them identify the biggest hurdles by imagining the ideal, even if it seems totally out of reach right now.
Yeah.
And you can adapt it for career talks or just general brainstorming.
Uncovering those big game-changing ideas. Okay, what if someone just isn't listening? They seem totally resistant.
The approach here is empathy first. Use statements that guess at how they might be feeling, probably misunderstood, overwhelmed, frustrated.
Like holding up a mirror to their feelings.
Exactly. So if someone's threatening to quit over, say, strict rules, don't argue about the rules. Try something like, wow, I can imagine you feel like nobody gets how much pressure these rules put on you, how suffocating it feels. And you're probably mad because it seems like we don't appreciate how tough it is.
Trying to connect with their experience first.
Yeah. The goal isn't to agree necessarily, but to show you're trying to understand. That often makes them want to open up more, to clarify.
Builds rapport. Makes sense. Now, there was a really interesting technique for sorting out issues between three people.
Oh, yeah, the three-way questioning. This is fascinating. You basically ask each person to explain what they think the other two are thinking and feeling.
Putting them in each other's shoes.
Exactly. So say you have Joan, Harry, and Robert. You might ask Joan, what do you think Harry's reasons are for being so negative about this meeting? Then you turn to Harry, how frustrating does that make you feel? And then bring Robert in similarly.
That sounds like it would immediately get everyone's attention.
Totally. It apparently brings the real issues to the surface quickly because, as the book points out, empathy and intense negative feelings like anger, they can't really coexist easily in the same moment.
It forces a perspective shift. Very clever. And there's also this reverse play strategy for when someone's not meeting your expectations.
Right. So instead of launching into what they're doing wrong, you flip it. You ask them about their disappointments in you.
Wow, okay.
You actually list things you suspect they might be frustrated with about your performance or leadership. You genuinely apologize for those things and promise to do better.
It takes guts.
It does.
Yeah.
But it completely disarms them, takes the defensiveness right out. Then you can have a much more constructive conversation about the original issue.
It's unexpected humility. I can see how that would work. What about that question? Do you really believe that? Sounds confrontational.
It can be, but the key is how you ask it. It has to be genuine curiosity, no hostility, no judgment, like, do you really believe that?
More like prompting them to reconsider.
Exactly. It's a gentle nudge. Are you maybe taking this a bit far? Is that really what you think? Encouraging self-reflection without starting a fight.
Subtle. Okay, and the stipulation gambit. What's that about?
That's about getting ahead of a potential weakness. You proactively mention something that someone might see as negative before they even bring it up.
Like what? Give me an example.
Okay, classic one. Someone with a noticeable stutter mentions it briefly, calmly, at the very start of a job interview. Just gets it out there.
Takes the awkwardness away.
Or the other example was a consultant who didn't have, say, an MBA or some fancy degree. They'd acknowledge it up front. Look, I don't have the PhD, but here's my 20 years of real-world results in companies just like yours.
Own it and pivot to strengths.
Exactly. You neutralize the potential negative by addressing it yourself. Build trust through transparency. And that consultant often followed up by asking the client, so what's the actual outcome you're really hoping for here? And why is that outcome so important to you? Shifting focus back to value.
Smart. Diffuse and redirect. Okay, more ways to get resistant people listening. Something about asking who's likely to get into trouble.
Yeah, this is interesting. You ask someone maybe about their team or even their friends, who among them do you think is most likely to get into big trouble down the road? And why?
Okay, and then what?
Then you just listen. Really listen. No judgment. Maybe ask a follow-up about what might happen next. The point isn't to gossip. It's to get the person answering the question to potentially reflect on similar patterns in themselves without you having to point fingers.
Ah, self-revelation through analyzing others.
Hmm.
Clever. And the interview question about imagining a year from now.
Right. You ask the candidate, imagine it's a year from now and I'm telling my boss you were an absolutely fantastic hire. What would you have done over the past year to make me say that?
That really gets to what they think success looks like in the role and what the interviewer values.
Exactly. It moves beyond just listing skills to showing they understand the impact required. It taps into the interviewer's vision.
It connects to that bigger idea in the book too, right? Moving beyond just transactional interactions.
Absolutely. So much of our interaction can feel like just give and take transactions. The book pushes for more relational interactions, asking questions that actually open people up, show you're genuinely interested in them as a person.
Like the example of the patient asking the doctor.
Yeah, is being a doctor still fun for you? It's unexpected, it's human, it builds a different kind of connection.
It's about seeing the person, not just the role or the task.
Yeah.
And there were some questions for us, for the listener, for self-reflection, when you feel stuck in that transactional rut.
Yeah, really powerful ones like, what would I like to be doing with my life this time next year? Or what do I need more of and what do I need less of in my life right now? And if my kids looked at me 20 years from now, what would make them proud of me?
Whoa, those hit deep.
Mm.
Good prompts for stepping back and getting perspective. Okay, almost wrapping up.
Hmm.
What about advice for when you don't get the job after an interview?
There's a specific question suggested. You follow up and ask, I'm just wondering if you could tell me something. The question I failed to ask or the issue I didn't address that would have made you feel differently was fill in the blank.
Asking for specific feedback on where you missed the mark.
Exactly. And the advice is to persist politely until you get a firm no. It shows you're keen to learn and improve, and hey, who knows, maybe it even keeps the door slightly open.
Shows grit. Good advice. And the final thought from the source material was a quote about management.
Yeah, from John D. Rockefeller. Good management consists of showing average people how to do the work of superior people.
Ties back to communication, guidance, enabling potential.
Definitely. It underlines how crucial effective interaction is in helping others succeed.
So really, as we wrap up this deep dive on just listen, it feels like the core message isn't about fancy techniques necessarily. It really boils down to understanding.
Yeah, understanding and acknowledging the other person's world, their feelings, their perspective, that seems to be the bedrock.
All these strategies, they're tools to help us get past our own assumptions, our own filters, and actually see and hear the other person, connect on that human level.
Exactly. Moving beyond just surface interactions.
So, here's something for you to think about. Consider an interaction you've had recently that felt tricky, maybe frustrating.
Yeah.
Based on what we've talked about, what's one potential hidden secret about that other person you might have missed?
Yeah. And how could just shifting your approach slightly, maybe trying one of these ideas, change how that interaction feels next time?
Definitely food for thought. Thanks for digging into this with us today. We really encourage you to explore these ideas more and see how they might work for you.